Salmon is famous for its omega-3 fatty acids, but there is a plant that packs over 10 times more, yet almost no one eats it. While the world scrambles for fish oil supplements, regulators just made a quiet decision that could tip the scales for this overlooked source. Why would a crop with such potential get sidelined right when we need it most? Omega-3 fatty acids play a central role in human health. Scientists identify three main types: ALA, EPA, and DHA. ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, is the form found in most plants. EPA and DHA are concentrated in marine life, especially fatty fish like salmon. The body requires ALA from the diet, but conversion to EPA and DHA is limited. Research shows that less than 10% of dietary ALA becomes EPA, and less than 5% becomes DHA. This biochemical bottleneck has shaped nutrition policy and public perception for decades. Salmon and other oily fish became the global benchmark because they deliver EPA and DHA directly, without relying on the body's conversion process. A typical serving of cooked salmon contains more than 1 gram of these long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, meeting or exceeding most clinical recommendations. This is why fish oil supplements, pressed from anchovies, sardines, or farmed salmon, dominate the market. The supplement industry has grown into a multi-billion-dollar sector built on the promise of concentrated, bioavailable omega-3 fatty acids. But the story of fish as the default source is not just about absorption. It is also about access and risk. Global supply chains tie omega-3 intake to industrial fishing fleets, rendering plants and cold storage logistics. This dependency means cost, quality, and availability can swing with fishery quotas, shipping delays, or climate-driven disruptions at sea. Contamination adds another layer. Marine oils can carry traces of mercury, PCBs, and dioxins, persistent pollutants that accumulate up the food chain. While salmon is generally lower in mercury than larger predatory fish, it is not immune. Public health advisories recommend limiting certain fish for children and pregnant women because of these risks. Even farmed salmon can contain PCBs depending on their feed and water sources. Microplastics are now an emerging concern in both wild and farmed seafood. Plant sources present a different risk profile. Seeds like flax, chia, and perilla do not accumulate mercury or PCBs. Their safety depends more on soil quality and pesticide use. When grown organically or in clean soils, these plants pose minimal contamination risk. Still, the form of omega-3 they provide is ALA, not EPA or DHA. For people following plant-based diets, meeting ALA recommendations is straightforward, but achieving marine-type omega-3 levels remains a challenge. These scientific details have shaped policy, supplement marketing, and the way most people think about nutrition. Fish remains the gold standard, but it is far from a perfect solution. The search for alternatives continues, especially as questions about sustainability and contamination grow louder. The next step is to examine whether a plant source can truly rival fish, not just on paper, but in the body and on the plate. Could a plant really match salmon for omega-3 content, safety, and real-world availability? In the highlands of ancient Mesoamerica, a small speckled seed once played a central role in daily life. Chia was woven into rituals, traded in bustling markets, and pressed into the hands of runners who carried messages across empires. 16th century Spanish colonial records describe fields of chia stretching for miles. After the conquest, Catholic authorities banned its cultivation, and a tradition that had endured for generations was severed. The reason was not agronomic. Chia was never declared a weed by law, nor was it targeted for eradication by early American agriculture. Instead, it faded from view, pushed to the margins of memory, left out of the Green Revolution calculations, and replaced by wheat, corn, and soy. How did a crop so central to whole societies almost disappear from our plates? Despite that erasure, the plant's resilience never wavered. Chia grows in poor soils, needs little water, and resists pests without synthetic chemicals. For centuries, it lingered in backyard plots and wild patches, dismissed as a curiosity, while industrial agriculture chased higher yields elsewhere. Ethnobotanists and local farmers in Oaxaca and Guatemala kept its story alive, recalling how a handful of seeds soaked in water could sustain a laborer through a long day. In the late 20th century, as interest in forgotten crops revived, researchers began to look closer. Lab assays confirmed what oral tradition had always claimed: chia's nutritional punch was extraordinary. What did those numbers actually show? 100 grams of chia seed yields 17 to 18 grams of alpha-linolenic acid, spelled ALA, the plant-based omega-3 that forms the backbone of cell membranes and fuels anti-inflammatory pathways in the body. By contrast, 1 to 1.5 grams of long-chain omega-3 fats are found in the same weight of cooked salmon. Food composition tables from the USDA and international labs repeat the finding. Gram for gram, chia delivers more total omega-3 than almost any other common food, plant, or animal. The form is different: ALA, not EPA or DHA, but the sheer quantity is hard to ignore. If chia outpaces salmon in total omega-3, why has it not become mainstream? The rediscovery of chia's nutritional profile did not happen in a vacuum. As fish stocks fluctuated and concerns about marine contaminants grew, scientists and health advocates hunted for alternatives. Yet even as chia's numbers began to circulate in academic journals and at nutrition conferences, its place in the food system remained uncertain. The plant that once fed empires now hovered at the edges of industrial agriculture, celebrated in health food aisles, but largely absent from mainstream fields. The question lingered: what keeps a promising crop from moving from niche to norm? The answer, it seems, lies not only in the lab, but in the quiet power of regulatory definitions and the legacy of what gets counted and what gets forgotten. Definitions shape markets, and markets shape what farmers plant, what companies invest in, and what consumers find on their shelves. As we follow the numbers and the histories, a pattern emerges that deserves a closer look. Buried deep inside the Federal Register, a single paragraph quietly redefined the legal boundaries for an ingredient found on supermarket shelves and backyard plots alike. The language was precise. The use of this seed and its oil in conventional food products is permitted only under the conditions outlined in GRN 000399, consistent with manufacturing and purity standards as specified. This clause, dry and technical, never made the headlines. In the year following its publication, just 3 mainstream news articles even referenced the docket number. Most coverage came from trade newsletters or regulatory bulletins, not from the pages of national newspapers. For a change that could affect what is grown, sold, or even labeled as a source of omega-3, the silence was striking. No press release, no agency spokesperson on morning television, no health influencers weighing in. Instead, the official notice sat in plain sight, its impact felt only by those with the patience to read the fine print. The economic consequences, who profits, who adapts, who gets left out, were never discussed in public. All that remained was a handful of sentences, a docket citation, and a conspicuous absence of debate. Who benefits and who is left behind? A handful of companies dominate the omega-3 supplement market, their profits measured in billions. These firms can afford the regulatory hurdles, lengthy toxicology studies, third-party lab validation, and the legal teams needed to navigate generally recognized as safe notifications. For a small grower, the picture looks different. A single batch of cold-pressed seed oil may require thousands of dollars in purity testing just to reach supermarket shelves. Compliance costs can exceed the value of an entire season's harvest. One independent producer in California describes spending more on lab fees than on seed and irrigation combined, only to find the largest buyers uninterested in uncertified lots. Meanwhile, the official rationale rarely mentions economics. The Federal Register frames the rule as ensuring product safety and consistency for consumers. Regulators cite the need for standardized fatty acid profiles and traceability. Yet the practical effect is clear. Abundance at the field level does not translate to affordable access. Biodiversity shrinks as only a few varieties processed at scale meet the technical standards for approval. The winners supply capsules and oils to a global market. The losers watch as local, nutrient-rich harvests are sidelined, not for lack of nutrition, but for lack of paperwork. Who benefits and who pays the price? Chia, Salvia hispanica, stands at the crossroads of history and nutrition. Native to Mesoamerica, this small speckled seed once filled the fields of Aztec and Maya farmers, traded alongside cacao and maize, and woven into rituals that shaped entire civilizations. Spanish colonial authorities, uneasy with its ceremonial use, banned chia cultivation in the 16th century, cutting off a food system that had endured for millennia. Over generations, the plant faded from commercial fields, surviving only in isolated pockets and oral tradition. Yet its resilience never waned. Chia thrives in poor soils, withstands drought, and requires little intervention, traits that set it apart from the monocultures that replaced it. Today, chia's biodiversity is a shadow of its former self. Modern agriculture favors a handful of uniform varieties bred for yield and ease of harvest, while the wild and landrace types that once supported both nutrition and ecology disappear. The cost is more than culinary. Each lost variety narrows the genetic base, leaving food systems less adaptable to change. Chia's return to the spotlight is not just a story of rediscovered nutrition, but of what is lost when diversity is exchanged for uniformity. As food systems grow more centralized, decisions about what we eat shift further from public view. The fight over what counts as food is ongoing, and the implications land on every plate. What gets classified and why still shapes our health more than most realize. What is your take?